The Gene and AJ podcast show. I'm AJ. Gene's on the phone here. We're going to be going over a topic: illegal immigration. And what do you think about? What's your topic of discussion on that, Gene?
Well, first off, we wouldn't have so many illegal immigrant problems. For one, if Americans would just work, but it's definitely becoming a more increasing problem, especially with the immigrants over from the Middle East. They're definitely a way more aggressive bunch than, Mexicans from the South. Even some of the Guatemalan, Honduras immigrants, aren't even comparable to the Muslim immigrants.
So why would you say that? You're saying that basically the Muslim immigrants are a little more psychologically misplaced to our way of life than what the Mexicans, Hondurans, or Guatemalans are, because they're kind of they're more apt to kind of mold into the American way of life, other than a Muslim try to implement what you trying to get to the Sharia law thing from those illegal immigrants or from those immigrants, period?
Yeah, first basis Muslim immigrants, their first thing is to kill everyone and lie to everyone that's not a Muslim.
Well, some of those are legal though. We're not. I understand your.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're sorry. Like in the illegal immigrant side, they're more hostility because they're fresh from areas that have had crazy fighting. Their religion itself is a schmuck.
A schmuck.
It's not corrupt, but it's based off just straight evil.
So
to kill women, to stone your daughters, to fuck little boys. Those are all just evil things in themselves in that religion. When you look at Mexicans, Hondurans, Guatemalans, they're all Christianity-based religion in those areas, not Muslim. I'm not saying now Honduras and Guatemalans ain't, bad areas over there, because they are. Some of those areas are just bad as Muslims in the Middle East, but you're not going to find it too much in the heart of everyone, I guess you could say.
Well, then, how about this? Since you're a millennial, and I'm a Generation X, I guess you would say, or somewhere around there. My opinion, I understand where you're coming from. I don't mind anybody coming in like law-abiding through the way they're supposed to come in, but the majority of the people that we're taking in, immigrants that are Arab, they are Muslim. The majority of them are men. They are hardcore extreme. A lot of them are ancestral, first cousin born, which they don't tell you, which kind of, after 40 generations of that, psychologically, how's that individual going to be, what's the stability of his mind, that immigrant, depending on where he's from. And most of them have been molested as a child too, because you got 50% that are from an ancestral family, which has been proven. So what's the stability of that mind after 40 generations of it? Nobody really wants to touch it. Then you've got the extremists of being Islamic Muslim extremist, which will kill any infidel, which if you're a Christian, they chop off your head instantly. There's no asking you for anything. They just instantly kill you. And then it just keeps going into that manner. So illegal immigrants that are coming from Mexico, no, they're not extreme, but a lot of them that are finding out are in a devil worshiping cult, a lot of them, and they do a lot of sacrificing, which people don't pay attention to that because, they're too busy wanting to hear the skim of it, not the deep end of it, because that takes an involvement of work, and nobody wants to do any extra work. They just, want it to be easily read or seen on the internet. They don't want to have to research it and work at it, unless somebody's going to explain it for them, and that's what we're here to do. Now, you were saying some things that are kind of controversial. You're saying that Buddhists and so on and so forth are more of the Christianity line. Explain to me what you think a Christian is as opposed to a Buddhist in a way. And do you see any of those illegal immigrants trying to come across that are Christian or Buddhist or Hindu or anything like that? Have we seen any the second question, we seen anything like that coming across borders? I haven't. Have you?
No, no.
Okay, the first question to answer it real quick on a kind of second note is, are you comparing Christianity to Buddhism and Hinduism, and explain that?
Can I explain it? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't explain Buddhism and Hinduism. For
You
sure.
were comparing it though. You were comparing them what, and just the naturistic way of being submissive, kind of not wanting to fight.
Can you ask that too?
What's that? I didn't. I was unaudible.
It's cut out. You're gonna have to repeat that question again.
Repeating what you said, you compared Christianity to Hinduism and to Buddhism. What did you compare it in the way of what manner?
Between Christianity and Buddhism and Hinduism, I mean, Hinduism and Buddhism isn't really too much of a hardcore for yourself, like.
Oh, so you're saying safety, basically. It's a safety issue. A Muslim is an extremist, will kill you because you're not one of them. A Buddhist won't. A Hinduism won't. A Christian won't. But the main one is the Muslim who will kill you if you don't want to be Muslim, right? Kind of like what the Catholics did for 1,000 years or so, killing hundreds of millions of people in the name of the Pope, when they were saying it was in the name of God, which there's no way they could have been, they had no right to do that. They were just human beings that were, didn't like that person, so, it just kind of came that way. But getting back to the illegal immigrant, what they're coming up from Mexico, what do you oppose that we do to keep the extremists out? I understand vetting them, but if they can't come in lawfully, and you got people griping saying we should open up the borders, do you know how many crazies we would get even more of? Why do you think intelligent individuals are wanting to open border like the Antifa when really they're just doing it to be against the system to begin with? Or maybe, what's your opinion on that, you being a millennial and all?
Now we call them intelligent individuals, maybe smart in their field, but not all around intelligent. We wouldn't have all these problems today. But,
Right.
basically, I mean, you're going to have good with the bad, and you just can't, it's hard to pick and choose between a whole threshold. I mean, Mexico, you don't have them coming by the millions. Muslims are coming by the millions, and they're mainly males for the good majority of them.
But wouldn't you think don't you think we should vet them and make sure they're not an extremist Muslim who wants to just instill Sharia law and stone women and give them kind of go back in time to the caveman thing of where because see, Muslims based on the Quran, which is based on what this person was told in a cave. Okay, this person was told this in a cave that has no proof, and he basically says it might be Gabriel, the archangel Gabriel, because why else would an instrument come out an instrument of death, to where death to those who oppose? That's not really a religion. A religion's based on trying to get to the man above. It isn't based on slaughtering everything on earth. In the name of it. I wouldn't think that would be a basis of a religion. I would think it'd be more like an occult.
Right.
If you got, and everything started with Christianity and everything came out after that. Catholics aren't Christian, but they claim to be, which, they worship idols. They're still going off of, you're supposed to give your allegiance to God, and you ask Him for forgiveness through Jesus Christ, not your Pope to give you 20 Hail Mary. I mean, I've never seen nothing in the Bible that says I got to go to a priest to confess to, because God said to confess only to Him and ask for forgiveness through His Son, or you won't make it. So some of these illegal that has nothing to do with illegal immigration, but that's kind of taking the threshold of the different religions, and Buddhism has nothing to do with that. and neither does Hinduism. But getting back to illegal immigration, because we're just the ranting arses anyway, that's the whole key. There's nobody said nothing about being politically correct or super chill on something, or you got to be extremely nice. Or you want to get really old and try to say we're not being the bee's knees. Illegal. There's all kinds of situations going on, and sometimes we skip off into different rants. That's how come we're called the Ranting Arses. So, but legal immigration, so what's kind of your final take on it before we've got other discussions that we want to get into and other situations. We'll go on another discussion later and kind of go more in depth. This is just scratching the surface because we're both at work.
But they kind of go hand in hand between, when you look at illegal immigrants, you really got to break them down. You got to look up at what compromises them, what makes up that individual. I mean, religion plays a big part into how a person kind of thinks and acts and reacts. And like when you look at it from that perspective, you can kind of judge each immigrant, a little more accordingly, wouldn't you say?
Well, I say everybody deserves a chance, but I don't want to give a chance to an extremist who has been psychologically perturbed, who's ancestral and been molested. I'm pretty sure that guy isn't out for the benefit of the good of the fellow American Christian or a fellow American. Period. That person has been usually conditioned or brainwashed at an early age, and could be a mole, could be this, that. No, there's a lot of extremists out there, and they all have their legitimate reason on why. None of them are factual. They're all based on a guess, like the theory of evolution. That's a guess, but people base facts on it.
Right.
But there's no facts. They say, oh, well, they got this, and this. There's no factual basis of that. But they just now found out through scientists that we have 22 to 25,000 genes in us, and they all came from a man and a woman that had nothing to do, sorry to say this, but they didn't have any ape gene in there, and they couldn't have flipped over any time in the generations. So, they're not, how can you argue with another scientific fact? But yet they will, because they hate the truth, because there's an agenda here that we're going to get into later on, that we're going to be one of our conversations at a future time. But illegal immigration is just one of the topics that are main that it's in our politics today that really can be solved, I would think, by getting down with the countries that they're running from and fix them and quit fucking running away and being a coward to things when, they say they can't do this, that, and the other. Well, why? Well, they're corrupt. They're taking money. What's your take on that? Wouldn't you think that would be pushing these people to our borders? Or why else are they coming to our country?
Well, I mean, a lot of the Middle Eastern, it's all war zones. A lot of that's been destroyed, and we're under a little bit to blame. Every country is a little bit to blame. That's had a helping hand in that. But what about the countries that are corrupt, and that's the reason why they're here, like Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala? Well, I think every illegal immigrant and every immigrant from that country, if they all just came together and maybe with the help of another country went back to their country and tried to fix it, maybe they could get further instead of just giving up hope kind of deal. Like it's like running away from your problem. It's not going to solve anything. It's not going to do any good, and then the problem's still there, just festering even worse now.
It's going to turn into that. Each country don't like each other. Guatemalans don't like Honduras. That's the way it kind of mixes down there in Central America. How are you going to? You go through so many different emotions and the way each person carries on in their country. Each country, their politicians are so corrupt. They sell out their own people to make sure their family goes fine the next generations or few. That's just kind of like the 1% only look out for them or themselves, and that's it. They don't want anybody else to have anything. You can't have it. So that's what the liberals fight about, with immigration and everything else, they want to make equality, but yet they don't want to work for it, and go through the motions like that person did to get it, unless you got it through the family, which, that to me, I don't know. They didn't have to work for it, so they're the people that usually try to make up laws.
Right.
No, I believe firmly in the going about it in the right way.
I mean, it'd probably be a good thing to see too if they made it to where, like, if you grew up in an inheritance or something of that sort, like, make it harder for them people to even get into law. Like, if you were raised in money, never had to work a day in your life or sweat blood and tears for something, I don't think you should be just handed anything else or be given a position where you can control society and people that are forced on, like, day-to-day basis of struggles.
Well, they got those vaccines that Mr. Microsoft made, him and his family, and it's already killed a couple of infants that they know of that's been recorded when they just started putting it out, and there's more to come from what I understand. But why would society take the word of somebody who stole ideas and then made them, kind of like gangster things, and that has nothing to do with how people should live and die, but yet we're turning to these people with money like they've got something special because of that money, because we look at money so highly that they've inherited some kind of gift to be able to tell us how we should live and die. And I don't believe in that. Those people are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. They've always been that way. They're just as normal, as straight as anybody, and as effed up as all of us. And they're just pretending because they got some money. So people worship money, so they look up to those no-good scumbags with money and pretend like they should tell us how to live and die. That's that's what gets me the most. Super intelligent people that are Muslim and that are women too, that put up with somebody that could stone them in the middle of the street because they're only a half a person. Because that's what the Quran says, and they're supposed to follow it. There's no part of it that they just get to take out and put in whatever they want. Read the ninth quatrain. You read most of it. You can see to where somebody was really, 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 really mad at women, and thought women were about the worst thing next to dogs, and they don't like dogs. So there's like, and you get these illegal immigrants from there, and then try to bring that philosophy here in America, which was based on a Christian philosophy. They've ruined it now with everything else. They've kind of watered everything down to pretend this, that, and the other in a bag of chips of lies of, like Thanksgiving, would be slaughtering of a bunch of partial land to take it from the Indians, the Dutch army, and they'd come back and have a Thanksgiving. Or when the boat would come over full of provisions, they'd have a Thanksgiving. They never had a meeting with Indians or anything. They slaughtered them. They could care less about them. They thought they were savages because they weren't wearing a big white collar like them, and had the Pope's hat on. So it was, everything's been an extreme, and that was our immigrants. See, that's where I was getting to. Our immigrants were illegal from the beginning anyway, and they slaughtered coming across. Our history, if you look at our history books, was made up to make a great America. All the pamphlets from that time in the 1600s were lost. So they got their information, they just made it up to make it sound good. That's exactly what they said, and that's what they did. And that's what we live off of, and that's what we fight for, is that basis. So that's how come some people, just have to understand that if they want to talk about the truth, then they've got to really talk about it and find out where this stuff's coming from with this illegal immigrants. We never allowed Muslims in back then to come over here. We knew better. Those people were extreme back then. They're still extreme now. It's bad enough that the Catholics were coming out of their revolt of killing everybody who wasn't Catholic, all in the name of the Pope. It's like, so, then they were fighting there with the kings and the popes. So everything just started changing. Illegal immigrants have been around forever, but we didn't base it off of Muslims. Now, they want to come over from Mexico. If they come about the right way, well, why can't they? If you're coming over here and you're a gangster, why would we want you to come here? What are you going to benefit for America? What's going to benefit, a hoodlum coming to? We got enough of them here. Why do we need any more? And they're saying, well, those people are human too. No, they're not. They're being controlled by somebody that's not human. That's for damn sure. What's your take on that, me ranting so much like an arse?
I mean, they honestly well could be. They're falling blindly. I don't even think they question anything because they're all just kind of kept in the dark and ignorant. So it might make it harder to really question. But
well,
you're right with everything being truly immigrants in this country. We came over as immigrants. Everyone here is an immigrant. I mean, we're supposed to be the land of the free,
but we didn't. No, it wasn't. It was based on there wasn't Muslims coming over establishing a front of Islamic rule and of Sharia law, because otherwise it would be like the Middle East, just barren. It's like Egyptians have been here before. They know it. They've been here across here. You had Columbus come as illegal immigrants, but yet we bought the rest of the land from Spain. So who was here first? I mean, it just keeps going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. The lie after lie after lie. I mean, nothing's really going to come out. And you would think, why are they lying? They've got proof that dinosaurs existed, maybe as early as 7,000 years ago. But it's like they're trying to say the Earth is millions of years old, which it's like, but there's really, how do you know? Well, this shows it and that shows it because of scientific fact. Well, that's just a guess. There's no proof.
No. No,
just because a scientist and his degree said this way doesn't mean it's the truth. That it's a proof, that's a God-given fact. I don't understand, but then again, maybe I'm just a ranting arse. So what's your take on immigration? So what do you think? I think everybody should be vetted coming through, and they should go through the right boat. If they're coming through illegally, then they got to go through the other way, which is back to where they came from, and try to figure out a way to get in and get these people that are rooting for them to pay for them. If they're all hot and fired, want to have illegal immigrants over, well, then have them donate all their money to them and take them into their household and find out. Instead of just pretending to care out in the middle of the street because you don't like Trump because he touched a girl's boobie.
I mean, you don't even have to bring them in. All you got to do is look at Germany. They took how many in?
Look at Paris. But see, they're getting ready to cleanse that country over there. So they may be shipping boatloads and boatloads of them back.
I mean, and they're all mainly men. I mean, women and children, yeah, that's fine, because, children are brainwashed, and if they are brainwashed at that age, it's pretty easy to get them unbrainwashed. Just got to take the dysfunctionalism out. But the other problem is, we have a country that's already full of people that get paid to do nothing. They get handed out like no other. And they don't work, they don't want to do nothing. So who's got to foot the bill for all these immigrants? The middle class. The middle class can't take anymore. I mean, the ones that get hurt all the way around is the middle class. You bring in immigrants, you got to pay for them. You bring immigrants into their neighborhoods, they got to deal with them. I mean, you bring in crazier immigrants that cut off little girls' heads. I mean, that was someone's daughter that you just lost because someone brought an immigrant into his neighborhood. So, it's always going to be the middle class that has to deal with it, the middle and the poor.
Well,
so I want to know when the middle and the poor are just going to tell the government and, the 1% shut the fuck up and we're taking over. I mean, we have more people. I know there's cops and military personnel that feel the same way as I do.
You think so?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I think just because you got money doesn't mean you're not a scumbag.
at it. I mean, in my job, if I go into the south end of town or if I go to the, ritzy north end of town, I get the same answer out of either one's mouth. What are you doing on my property?
Right. So you're saying when you go with the job you have and you're in the neighborhoods of the extremely wealthy and you go into the neighborhoods of the extremely poor, they both have the same attitudes of protection or of arrogance against what they have, which is the poor don't want to lose what they have because it's next to nothing, and the rich don't want to give up anything because they're going to keep everything away from you. So yeah, I understand that, and they both act the same, you're saying. Yeah, we'll go into that at a further time too, but giving it up for the Gene and AJ podcast show. We're just getting started on a lot of these things. We've got a long way to go. We've been having to do a pretty busy schedules at work, so we're trying to rant our way through. Like I said, we're the Ranting Arses. We try to touch topics of the main thing, but we may skip off a little bit, but hey, that's human nature. But as we go, conditioning will get better and better. But it's Underground News, and that's News with a Z Network. We've got the webpage up, but we haven't got things started. But if you go to the Gene and AJ, our podcast deal, and just subscribe, we don't want anything. All we want is just for people to listen. And then after a while, we want them to rebuttal with us, to come in with us. We'll Skype you. If you want to rant about something and you've got proof, well, then more than happy to bring it on at any intelligence level. Just as long as you're not trying to play a game and be a troll, which, hey, we know how to have fun with them. It's just be serious about something in your life for once that has the truth behind it. Factual truth, like in a book, open it up, show that this has happened. If you're mad at Trump or if you're mad at illegal immigrants, if you're mad, it doesn't matter. Show the proof of it beyond a reasonable doubt that you can get different individuals with different mindsets that can all agree to it in some sort of fashion. And then you vote on it like that. That's how you get an equality, I guess you would say. And that's kind of what we're trying to look for. Even though I'm one-sided about some things, I'm an arse. I'm pretty sure Gene is an arse too. Are you an arse, Gene? Well, it looks like we might have lost Gene over there. But that's Underground News Network with a Z. This is the Gene and AJ podcast show. This is a test podcast, by the way. Everything up until we start going live with both of us and or where you see us both, then that'll be the start of the new. But check us out, subscribe, have a good one, peace out.